All right. Good morning, Sync Edgers. Hope you guys are having a great Saturday morning. First of all, I do want to apologize. This is definitely late in the month for us to do our live Q&A, and that's all 100% on me, obviously. This month has been a double-edged sword. It's been great. A lot of great opportunities have been coming my way with my licensing partners and just more than usual. Really exciting, great projects I'm working on and I'm just grateful to be a part of. However, that means that there's a lot of tight deadlines and I have to crank out a lot of music, and a lot of times I have to do that on the weekends because during the week I have other things that I'm doing for Sync Academy and just syndicate stuff. So I have a lot of other things that I have to take care of. So I've been having to really push this stuff off into the weekends, unfortunately. So thank you guys so much for your patience. And I'm now seeing that my video is also a little bit choppy. I don't know if there's much I can do about that today because the other issue I've been dealing with, and not this to be like a rant, but I literally have not been able to get high-speed internet in my home. You would think in 2019 I should be able to do that. Can't get it. Spectrum has been having all these problems. That's who I go with. I've reset everything. I've had the cables reinstalled, you name it. I've tried another provider. That one is giving me problems. So right now I'm literally on a hotspot, which is giving me adequate speeds, enough for me to be able to do my job. But I know that it's not giving me super high speed streaming right now. So that's going to be a problem. So I am working on that. So again, thank you for your patience. I am going to be working on a long-term permanent solution to that so that you guys can get the high quality streaming that you can. If there's anything wrong with the audio though, do let me know in the comments in the chat box right now, because if you can't hear me, that's a much bigger problem if it's choppy with the audio. If the video is choppy, can't do much about that, but as long as you can hear me and get the answers for your questions, that's really important. So if you guys can let me know that right now too, that the audio is working okay, would really help me out. Other than that, I'm going to go ahead and close out of all my other windows to try to free up a little bit of bandwidth, if that's going to help at all. Don't know if it will. We'll see. Audio sounds good. Okay, cool. Thanks, guys. Yeah, other than that, there's really nothing else I can do about it. Just because I don't have the super fast upload speed with this hotspot that I'm using for streaming. So it might get a little better if the signal improves. But other than that, guys, this is basically what we got to deal with this morning. So please go ahead and pop any of your questions in the chat box. I'll be more than happy to answer anything that I possibly can. We had since the last time we did a chat, we had 2 or 3 new SyncEdge members actually reach out to me and give me testimonials that they got their first contract with libraries, including one. He wasn't a SyncEdge member, but he was a former Syndicate member who actually had to fly all the way back to Korea, where he was from. His visa expired here in the U.S. And he was really bummed out about leaving the U.S. He really wanted to stay here. But through all that transition, he just kept going with Sync licensing, and now he's getting placements every 2 or 3 days. So we just did a little chat, a little interview. I'm going to post it on my YouTube channel. It's a really inspiring story. It was just really cool to hear that he stuck with it. I mean, he could have given up. And not only that, he actually had to, yeah, I know my video is going to look kind of funny, so don't worry about that, guys. But just as long as the audio is okay, that's what we'll work with today. He this just kept going with licensing, and he had to also learn an entirely new DAW, because when he moved back to Korea, he had to sell all of his gear, like his computer, his keyboard, everything, because to ship it back was going to cost him thousands of dollars. So he decided to just sell it all, and he had to buy all new stuff. And when he got back, he couldn't afford the Mac that he was using, and he was using Logic Pro, and so he had to go get a PC, and he's now using Cubase. He'd never used Cubase, didn't know how to use it, so he literally started from scratch with an entirely new DAW. But he had relationships built up, and he kept serving them and kept getting some great music out to them, and now it's paying off, and he's seen some placements happen pretty much consistently every couple of days, like I said. So you guys have no excuses. This guy had every excuse in the world why he could have given up and decided, I don't really want to do this anymore. But he didn't. He just pushed forward, and now he's seeing the results. So it's really cool to see when my students really do that well. So let's go ahead and see what's going on in the chat. Dare to be different. What are some good follow-up or tips for follow-up emails? Not a whole lot to say there. Basically, is that you do want to forward the original email again. You don't want to have them go searching through their inbox to find that original email. So you can basically just forward the original email again to the same email inbox, email address, and then just a little note on the top saying, "Hey guys, I sent this to you a couple weeks ago. Haven't heard from you. Did you respond? Maybe I missed it. Wanted to give you guys first dibs at this music. I really felt like I would be a great partner for your music library. Please let me know, within the next, couple of days or a week, whatever you feel like you want to give them, Otherwise, I might start to shop this to some other libraries and some other opportunities. So you kind of give a little deadline. You're not just letting them know that you're going to sit around forever. You just got to give them that sort of, I think it's an important thing to give them the deadline, but also just a polite, follow up. It might have just slipped through the cracks. They don't even know. I have had one, actually the same guy that I was just telling you about, he actually got accepted by a library 4 months afterwards. He didn't send the follow-up email, and that was the big problem. And they finally got to their emails 4 months later and said, hey, we love your music. Can we work with you? By that point, he had signed it to somebody else. But at least he opened the door, and then he started working with them 4 months later after the fact. So that's why a follow-up email is really, really important, because you never know. People just get busy, and they might really love your music, but that given day, they've got a deadline on their back, and they really got to get something done, so they don't have time to reach out to you to build a relationship. So that's why it's really on you. You really got to do that follow-up. So. Oh, thanks, Mike. Appreciate it, man. Yeah. Mike obviously knows how it is. Sometimes things are just kind of scooting along, and then sometimes it's just you're into this mountain, and that's where I'm under now for the last couple of weeks. Just a whole lot of opportunities and great things are piling on. So it's daunting in a way, but it's also it's reinvigorating too. It's really fun to get these sort of tight turnarounds, lots of music having to be cranked out real quick. So it just always reinvigorates me to kind of get into these kind of hustle mode, beast mode, where you're just cranking out tons of great music. So it's always a lot of fun. And if you're not having fun with this, guys, you're in the wrong industry. Like, you gotta have fun, even if it's super stressful, even if you don't know if you're going to be able to hit a deadline. There's got to be a side of it that's just invigorating, like going down a mountain kind of a thing. You just get this adrenaline rush that you like, I really want to get this done, and it's like you don't even want to sleep. You're just so excited to get the project done. So if you're not feeling that excited about these projects you're getting involved with, or just getting involved in this business, you're not going to have fun. You're not going to last for a long time. So it's got to be fun and enjoyable for you, even if it is challenging. Details on new trap video class. You'll learn that in just a couple days. I think you're talking about the new Sync Academy tutorial coming. Yeah, you'll learn all about that when I release the tutorial there on the 1st. Nigel, question about looping issues. In some videos you mentioned that tracks are like 8 mini songs put together, but how different should chord progressions and melodies be from one verse chorus to another? That's kind of like a subjective question. I can give a subjective answer to it. It shouldn't be so different that it feels like they're separate songs. So when I said like 8 mini songs, it still needs to have a continuous musical flow throughout it, right? So if you're going into you got a major chord progression for your chorus, and then you go into this really dark, minor, like almost horror sounding chorus, it doesn't sound like it fits together, right? So it's too much of a disconnect. So you don't need to have it too different. You can stay in the same key, obviously. You can stay in the same, major or minor. You can obviously you can get creative. You can do a lot of things to really change things up, but it shouldn't be so just jarring that when you go from one section to another, it just feels like, whoa, where did that come from? If it's distracting, right? That's the sort of like, what is that line? It's hard to really tell you without like listening to your tracks or giving feedback. I can't tell you exactly what's too much or what's not enough. But if you're honest with yourself and you listen back to your track, if going from that verse to the chorus, it's like, whoa, where did that come from? It's completely disorienting in a way. Like, it just feels like we went to a different planet. It's too much. Like, you're creating too much change with it. Okay, so having a little bit more continuity with it is what it is what it's all about. So it's kind of a hard one to really just answer here without, showing you a musical example, but that's the best I can give. All right, Zell, I'm making a hip-hop album. Should I mix up the tracks? Example, East Coast, West Coast, hip-hop instrumentals, or just stick to one sound? You could probably play around with a couple of those. It would probably be stronger if you came to the table with a East Coast hip-hop album, right? Because then it's entirely themed. So that would be one way to theme your entire album. It's just all East Coast or it's all West Coast. However, let's say you maybe want to do tension hip hop. Okay, so maybe that's your theme. Well, you can bring some West Coast tension, East Coast tension, trap tension. You can go into a couple different ways, but it has to have some sort of a central theme that ties all of them together, not just random different hip hop things. You got like a love hip hop song here, and then you got the tension trap one here. Having some sort of a centralized theme to it is a really important thing. That's why we actually just released that tutorial by Mike, actually, about how to theme your albums. Like, what are some of these things that you can do to really tie the concept of your album together to make it really marketable and useful. That was one of the last Sync Academy tutorials we put out just last month. So yeah, just make sure you have some sort of a clear focus. It doesn't have to necessarily be the genre, but the emotion. That's one of the big ones you can do. What is the vibe of this album? And then you can kind of put it together with a couple different subgenres of hip hop, right? All right, Guyman, I watched your tutorial on negotiating deals, but I need to know how to make sure that I get my royalties when I sign a contract and work with an independent filmmaker. Well, in that case, you're going to make sure that you're probably going to be doing the registration. I mean, it depends on the filmmaker and what they do. You can always ask them, do you register the tracks? And I don't know, in your negotiations, are they take any publishing? Are they sort of taking ownership of the songs in any way? So you need to make sure you understand what's going on. If you're 100% keeping ownership of it and they're literally maybe just paying you a fee up front to place it or something like that, but you get to keep all publishing and all writer share, then it's really on you. You have to make sure that your track is registered with the PROs, okay? And then for them, if they have a cue sheet or whatever they're working with, I mean, if they have an opportunity that will provide for a cue sheet that they need to submit, it's really up to you to hound them to say, did you guys turn in the cue sheets? Did you turn it into ASCAP BMI? Did you guys get those in? If it's really just up to them and they have no incentive to do it because they don't have an ownership in your music, they're not going to make any money off of it. It's something they're required to do, but there's no financial incentive for them to do it. A lot of things just slip through the cracks, so it's really on you. If you're 100% independently, pushing for that, that's really on you. That's why I like to work with libraries, because I don't want to hound people. I don't want to get on the phone and talk to people and, hey, did you get my stuff registered? Did you do this? Did you do that? This is what libraries that's what their business is. They're in the business of making sure that things are getting registered, that cue sheets are getting turned in. That's their job. They really hound that. So if you don't have a library you're working through, though, you're the library. You've got to do all that legwork yourself. Daniel, coming from a band artist model approaching to licensing, can we partner with music libraries and still maintain the rights to sell our music to our fan base? Or is it not a good idea to give up publishing? You can. Usually you're going to only find that situation with non-exclusive libraries. I do have a video on my YouTube channel called Exclusive versus Non-Exclusive and my strategies for both. I think I've released that. Maybe I haven't released that yet, but I'm pretty sure that I did. If not, it's coming soon. But it is a Sync Academy tutorial we have. And usually you're going to find that if you want to be a band and you still want to have your music on iTunes or on your website or anything like that, or even just having it on YouTube and on Facebook and just like letting people listen to it for free and social media, you're probably going to have to get a non-exclusive licensing deal, meaning that you can license it through them and you can monetize it in any other channel you want to. Some exclusive libraries are going to be okay with that, but not all of them. So you just have to basically ask them up front as you submit to them. You don't want to get a contract go through the whole process of submitting, getting under contract, and then laying it on them. By the way, we still plan on selling all of our music that we gave to you on iTunes. You don't want to land that on their laps after you've negotiated everything. You want to be upfront and transparent from day one. So if they want to say, no, we don't allow that, you don't want to waste your time, right? It doesn't waste your time. Don't waste their time. And just ask them right off the bat. Some will be okay with it under certain circumstances, right? But you definitely need to be transparent and ask them. So. Dare to be different is their best day or time of day to send email submissions to a library. Usually I'd say the mornings are great, and I would go for Monday or Tuesday, earlier in the week. If you've ever had a job, Friday at 5 p.m., are you thinking about signing something new or getting a new relationship started? Probably not. You're thinking about the weekend and getting out of the office and, doing something with your family or whatever. So you probably want to catch people when they're fresh, brand new, early in the week. So Mondays and Tuesdays are usually good. But honestly, I've had members get deals secured. They sent emails on Sunday nights, Thursdays, Friday. I've had members send emails all the time. The only time of the year I would say don't send emails is between maybe a couple days before Christmas up until New Year's. That's just dead zone. Nobody's working, nobody's in their office, and nobody's going to really look at your email. So if they come back, 2 weeks later, your email might be buried under dozens of other ones that have come after you send it. So that would be the only time of the year that I wouldn't try to reach out and establish relationships. But other than that, it's open season. Martin, I think the best word to describe would be resolve. The theme remains, but there's a feeling of summary regarding changes in a given song. Yeah, that's a good way to say it. There's still a theme that kind of pushes through the entire track, even if there are different chords and changes happening in the music. So yeah, that's one way to think about it for sure. All right. All right, Tony. Good day, future Grammy winners. Hey, I actually had one student that did win a Grammy. In this industry, if you're going to be doing sync licensing, I wouldn't look too forward to thinking you're going to get a Grammy, because we don't get any love from the industry, from our side of the business. But who cares, honestly? The Grammys are just the industry congratulating itself. It's really, it means a lot to a lot of people. I understand all that. But, we're in this for the love of music and for, obviously being competent at our craft. But who knows? You never know. Some of you guys actually probably will secure some pretty big placements. So, all right. Mike, any insight on how blanket or subscription deals affect the composer? Would you 100% rely on royalties, or do libraries work a revenue share of the subscription to all of its composers? That's a really great question, Mike. So I've actually seen both sides of that equation. So I partner with libraries that do blanket deals. For you guys that don't know, blanket deals is when they basically charge a one-time lump sum fee to one of their clients to let them use any music they want at any time. It's like a la carte or a buffet, basically. Just pay us this one. It could be an annual, quarterly, whatever the term is going to be. And basically, as long as you pay us that, you can come and use our tracks anytime you want. They don't do the individual negotiations per placement. And I've worked with libraries that the first type don't share any of that with you as the composer. It's just 100%. That's what they're doing. They have every right to do that if they want to, and you have every right as a composer to say, I don't want to do that. Now, I've worked with libraries that don't give me any of those blanket fees because the placements that I get from them are still awesome and ridiculous, and so I'm still getting some great royalties on my writer side. So that's where I decide, yeah, it kind of sucks. I wish I could get a little piece of that front-end action that they're getting, but since I'm not, as long as I'm getting those royalties, I can still work with them, okay? Now, there's a new kind of a deal going on, and this is a new library that I've partnered with in the last 4 years, and they are actually openly splitting those, or a portion at least, of those blanket deals per track that gets placed. So they have this whole system set up. I don't know the software they're using. I don't know exactly how it works, but basically how it is they have their online, I think it's Source Audio they're using, but basically it's tracking how many times tracks are being downloaded from their clients. And then they're essentially, this is the sort of story we're told, how transparent and realistic is it? I don't really know, honestly. But they're basically saying that depending on how many times your particular track got downloaded or your tracks got downloaded, we're going to basically start feeding you out a portion of those blanket fees that we're getting from our clients. So basically on a quarterly basis, I'm now starting to see these little, they're small, not big checks. I mean, a couple $100 here and there. But it is a new sort of form of transparency where you get to see, wow, this track of mine got downloaded 20 times, 30 times. And so I got a certain amount. And it's just like PROs though. What's their calculation? How are they determining all this? That stuff they're not really sharing, but at least they are showing some transparency, and at least they are trying to open up the door to share some of those blanket revenues with us, the composers. So I've definitely seen both sides of that, Mike. And again, it always comes down to how great are the placements. I mean, if the placements are just ridiculous and awesome and they just keep piling up, giving up that blanket fee is not the end of the world. It's not the greatest, but it's really not the end of the world. It might not be a reason to give up on them. But I see some new libraries moving in this direction where they want to start opening up those blanket fees. He's asking because when he was at Netflix, they had blanket deals with 4 libraries for all the music on their site, which doesn't generate royalties. Yeah, so that would be where if you're working with a library where there's no chance of getting royalties with their given placements and their opportunities they're working with, and they're not giving you blanket deals, well, they better be like offering up some pretty good consideration fees, like really high consideration fees, if that's the only money you're going to be getting. The only other thing I would say is, I guess if it's non-exclusive, where it's not like a huge, you're not losing a lot of access to submit those same tracks to some other opportunity or something like that. But if it's exclusive, no blanket fees, no upfront sync fees, nothing like that, and no royalties, what's the point? There's got to be some incentive for you as a composer to be giving them some music. Daniel, can I reach out to libraries before an official submission to ask questions, or should I submit and include the questions in the submission? I would do the latter. I would have you can always say no. It's just because you submit music to a library doesn't mean you're committed. It's just an offer. You can just say, hey, I'm interested in partnering with you. It happens where maybe you submit your tracks to a library and they go, oh yeah, by the way, here's our terms. And you look at those terms and you go, it's not really what I want to do. You can just say, thanks so much for getting back to me, but I just decided this is not exactly the position. Or are you guys flexible on your terms? You can negotiate. So it's a much stronger approach to say, I've got music, I'm a serious player, and I've got a couple of questions before I work with you guys, rather than I'm a composer. I promise you I have some music. I'm not going to give it to you yet, but I promise it's over here. You don't get to see it yet, but I have a couple of questions. Can you walk me through this and that? Sometimes they'll be generous to help you out and answer those for you, but it'll be a much stronger approach if you've already got the product sitting right there and you've got the questions in hand. So I would definitely just have the music ready to go to have a better impression with them. Starting the buffer. Okay. How's it looking now, guys? I can see that it's definitely stuttering, but if it just stops working, that's a bigger problem. Yeah, I see my streaming rate is pretty all over the place. Not good. Let me go ahead and just see how the stream looks. Oh boy, you guys got quiet on the chat. Are you guys still with me? Am I completely off? Stuttering, but audio okay. Okay, thanks, Kevin. Welcome, George. Yeah, again, sorry guys. This is the best I can do today. There's nothing else I can really do. Other than like, going to a Starbucks and being in a noisy place where I'm distracted and there's people all around. I don't want to give you that kind of a live Q&A thing. So this is the best I can do today. I am working on a better solution that should hopefully give me some higher streaming ability, some higher upload speeds. How often does a library offer to use an entire album of your songs? That has never happened to me, where a library submitted like an album to, like got every single, maybe you're assuming, or you're talking about one particular opportunity or something like that. That's never happened for me, where like, let's say I have 12 tracks on an album and all 12 landed up in a TV show or something like that. No, but I've definitely had some albums where every single track on the album has been placed in various different TV shows, promos, and commercials and all that kind of stuff. So I think if that's what your question was, I think that's what you're asking. What about a pub? What are you talking about, Kevin? What's a pub? Is that an internet thing, or are you talking about publishing? Daniel, does it hurt to let the library know that they are your first choice and are excited about the process? No, definitely doesn't hurt. It's a really good thing to let them know that you're not. The reason why you want to say that is because you're not spamming people. This is what a lot of producers do, and this is why you guys are ahead of the curve with Sync Edge. Producers, usually what they do is they get like a library directory. I have my library directory. They will copy and paste 300 emails and blast it out to everybody with this very generic, poorly written submission, and people usually can tell right off the bat it's just spam. Like, they don't want to work with people that are just spamming a lot of people. They want to work with somebody that gives them a personalized email to them. So definitely let them know you are the first library I'm reaching out to with these tracks, and I specifically had these tracks in mind, or had your library in mind when I was composing these tracks. You're 100% the company I want to partner with first, and I would really appreciate your time to review my tracks. It's such an honest and direct and non-spammy approach to people. It's showing people real respect too. People like to feel respected. Surprise, surprise. So no, it's a really good thing to say. Zell, what are some good libraries to get reference tracks? You've got access to Sync Edge. Every single video, almost every single video, a few of them you can't see their entire back catalog. You have access to now over 36 libraries with their URLs, and even my videos where I go through and play these tracks. That's where you're getting your reference tracks. I hope you're taking advantage of that. You guys have that in Sync Edge. It's definitely one of the perks of being a member. Oh, okay. I didn't really get the joke, Kevin. Nigel, I'm new to the business, so feedback is critical. I know it's good to give first, but I don't feel qualified to give feedback on others' work. The blind leading the blind. Any suggestions, any ideas? Nigel, I don't know. Are you in Sync Academy? I think you are. If you are, in our feedback corner, I actually have an entire video, which is sort of the welcome to the feedback corner. And I give you guys a little bit of a walkthrough on ways to give productive, constructive feedback. And you're right. Like, if you don't feel like you can give constructive feedback to a particular track, it's best just to not probably do it. You don't want to just put noise onto the platform or for the composer. But you probably do. You're probably discounting yourself quite a bit. You probably do have something to offer everybody. And it can be very small, minute things, but just very particular things. Let's say the snare drum doesn't feel as impactful as you think it could. Maybe the drums just don't feel as impactful. Maybe you're a little bit lost on the emotion. You don't know really where it wants to go. The track feels a little bit quiet. I mean, these are very specific things that pretty much all of you guys here can pick up on. This is not something that like you have to have some PhD in production music to understand this stuff. But obviously with your feedback, you want to be as constructive as you can to give them a suggestion for something to do. Not just, your drums need work. Like I've seen that on the platform. That doesn't help anybody. What do you mean? Does it need work? Does it need a job? Is it unemployed? No, it needs like what? You need more impact. The snare sample feels like it could be replaced. Your kick is getting lost in the mix. Give them like specific things that they could be looking to work on. So it's like just like a skill like anything else. The more you give feedback, the better you start getting at it. So don't discount yourself and feel like you have nothing to offer. You definitely do have something to offer, but try to give something very specific that you can really help out with people for sure. Asif, one of the libraries you posted in this month's Sync Edge is near me. Is it worth a visit? Yes and no. If they're not really in the business, because some of these people have home offices, they definitely don't want people just showing up at their homes. If it looks like it's a legit office and it looks like it's a space where they do invite and people can just walk in, absolutely. You can definitely go see if you can get a meeting with somebody. I would probably call first. Maybe email first and just say I'd like to come and take a tour or just talk to you guys and see about working with you. Doing just a pop in, sometimes that can be good. Sometimes you catch them on a bad day, it's not good, and you have a bad reputation with them because they might perceive you as just like bothering them when they're trying to get work done or whatever. So unless they're telling you for sure that they accept like walk-ins, which I don't really see, that's not like a common thing in this business. It's usually just phone, email, all digital usually. I would say stick with that, but if you do want to, just be aware. Just kind of do it right. Just do it with some consideration for them in mind before you do that. Following on Michael's question, if a library isn't likely to place all the songs together, why does the library prefer an album? All right, so I'll answer this question by having you, Bob, put yourself in the shoes of a library. So you're a library and you've got, let's say, 20 clients and they're all working on different projects. And you get a composer that comes to you and he says, hey, I've got this one track for you or 2 tracks for you. Can you get me under contract? And you go, okay, interesting. And then let's say they're just rock tracks, just straight up rock tracks. And the next composer comes to you and says, hey, I've got 12 tracks for you or 20 tracks for you, rock tracks. Can you get me under contract? It's the same amount of work to get either one of them under your contract, right? So you're a library and your job is to supply quantity and quality of music to your clients. Do you want to go through all the work to just get 2 tracks from this composer and then kind of hold their hand and hope that they give you more tracks down the line? Or do you want to do the same amount of work for this composer and immediately have 12 tracks in your catalog ready to be submitted, or 20 tracks or even more, right? Once you put yourself in their shoes, you understand why having more tracks is a desirable position. Nobody knows which tracks will get placed by the clients. Like nobody has that crystal ball. If we did, good Lord, trust me, I'd be using it. We don't know which track is going to land, but certainly have a larger number of high quality tracks is better than having one track that you get from one composer, right? So that's why having a large number of tracks like an album is going to make you a much more desirable composer and producer for these companies. Okay, Nigel, you're in the academy. So yeah, check out the feedback corner, man. In the featured post, you'll see that video, so you can watch that. John, I've had a library refer to my album as fantastic. 2 months later, I still didn't have a firm commitment from them as to whether or not to accept any of the tracks. Is this normal? It can be if they got really busy, but my question for you is, have you sent a follow-up email? Have you said, what do you guys want to do with my fantastic album? You thought it was fantastic. I need to do something with this album. I don't want it sitting on my hard drive. Can I get a commitment from you? Can we get this under contract so that I can give you my files so that I don't have to think about, submitting to another company? So unfortunately, 2 months, it can take a while before people have some free time, but you should be following up with them. You should really be, especially if they gave you that really positive feedback. It's okay to hound them a little bit about that, right? You guys said it was fantastic. Let's get this going. Give me the contract. Let's get this underway so I don't have to sit on these tracks anymore and make sure your clients can start using them. Daniel, coming from the band artist model, our songs are a bit longer than the 2 to 3 long minute recommendation. Should we submit the entire song or edit them down to 2 to 3 minutes? It's hard to tell, but I would say you should probably, are you talking about you have 10-minute long songs, 15-minute long songs? I don't know how long you're talking about, but if it's like 4 or 5 minutes, sometimes no, but what you need to make sure is that your tracks are following a sort of guideline that's licensable. Just having a long 4 to 5 minute track usually doesn't provide for that because there's a lot of repeating parts and things that you don't need to hear it that many times over and over again. A lot of times with artist music, there can be this tendency to repeat a lot of stuff over and over again, and it might work great for your band and for your fans, but it's not necessarily useful for a TV show or for a placement. So that's why making sure that you can maybe edit some things down to create more licensable versions of your tracks, something something to definitely consider. And obviously, why I created Sync Academy, to give you guys those tutorials and that guideline for how to do that. Michael, do I ever speak at conferences? If so, which ones? No, I don't. I haven't yet. It's possible I will in the future. I've been invited to do a lot of online conferences, and they always look a little sketchy, and so I'm very hesitant to even get involved with online things. I know the PMAs were just this last week, but no, I haven't done it. I am just not. I mean, the right situation, I might do something like that. And I definitely, I'm not against the idea of whatever, being there in person and talking to people and all that kind of stuff. But I kind of feel like I reach so many more people here in my home studio. I mean, I reach thousands and thousands of people every single day without having to leave my home. And when I go to a conference, you're going to be talking to a room, basically, and maybe they'll have the video available afterwards. I don't know. But you really don't get to reach that many people with these kind of conferences. And so it's a really small group of people. And I like the sort of democratization of information, where if you've got a computer or a smartphone and internet, you can find my videos, you can find my YouTube channel, you can go through my course. I mean, you can find anything that I'm teaching, basically. So I just prefer the internet model so much better, just because I can reach way more people. I don't have to, fight through traffic or fly around the country or do any of that kind of stuff. I'm not really interested in the prestige of conferences and being a guest speaker and any of that kind of stuff. I mean, it's always honored. I know it feels like, you feel honored when people want you to speak at their conferences or anything like that. But I don't know. I've gone to a lot of conferences when I was first getting started in the music business, and they were all mostly centered around kind of like a dream chasing thing, where it was just like, come to this conference and you'll learn how to make your music dreams come true. And I always got turned off by that whole thing. I just never liked that. So associating myself or my brand or my company with something like that, I always go, I don't know. I don't know if that's something I really want to kind of play with. So who knows the future? Talk to me in a year and maybe I will be at a conference or something like that. But for now, no. You'll find me online. That's the place to find me. Martin, when making alts, how detailed do they generally need to be? Otherwise, 30 seconds or just the chorus, drum and bass, the whole song, or just a section of. Martin, you are. I know you're in Sync Academy, right? Like, we've got tutorials on how to create alts. So definitely watch all of those. And it really depends on the library. So some of the libraries will be very specific. We need 30, 60, 15, sting, full, no leads, drum and bass, all of your stems. They might be very particular on that. Other libraries might just say, hey, we just need like 3 versions of your song. One full, one strip out any of the high lead elements, and then one with just like a drone or the drums, just something like low. So it depends on the library. There's really no like set guarantee of what you should be doing. So whoever you're submitting your music to, you should definitely be asking them what do they need from you. All right, Nicholas, when you do orchestral cues, do you layer your instruments? For example, blend violins from 2 different libraries, or is it enough for TV cues to use only one library? Depends. If you're one TV or your one, let's say, violin sample is full and rich and just feels great, that's just use one. If you feel like it's missing a little bit of low end presence, you want to stack another sound underneath it or another live violin, then stack it. And I've definitely done both. I've had some where I have to stack instruments because I feel like I want a little bit more beef out of it, or I want a different tone or a timbre to it. I've also had just standalone samples that just sound great as they are. So I can't give you a 100% one way or the other. You have to be the judge on that, on whether or not you need to be stacking some of your instruments. So. In your experience, how many placements do you get in your BMI statement? Approximately each pay. I think you mean each statement. Thousands at this point. I'll look at my last one. I'll tell you the number. I got to get back to you on that. I don't know, but it's my statement alone is like, I think it's over like 100 pages long. So it's literally like you're just scrolling through placement after placement after placement after placement. So it's thousands. It's just a lot of different ones, and not everyone is obviously making tons and tons of money. Some of them are 1 penny, 13 cents, 25 cents. There's a lot of them that are in that lower range. But then you get a couple there, 125, 300, 500, 1,000, 1,700. Occasionally you get these big pop ones that really do well. But it really is that like numbers game where you just stack up thousands of smaller placements, and then they add up to a good amount of money for your royalties. Does Sync Academy have a glossary of frequently used terms? Yes, it does. And I got to remember where I placed it. It's definitely in Sync Academy, and we did that. I might have posted it a while ago. Let me make a note for that, Michael. I will post that again. Try to make it in a place that's easily visible again. I think I just called it licensing terms, and it was basically like a cheat sheet that just had a whole list of licensing terms that that you guys could check out. I'm starting the buffer. Okay. The other thing I can do is, bear with me here, guys. All right. So I know that you can't see me, and this is going to be traumatic for some of you, but I want to see if taking away my video might help the streaming quality so it's not buffering, because clunky video is one thing, but if it's buffering, that's really not cool. So I'm going to just wait a second here. It doesn't look like it's making a difference for my my stream speed, but maybe it is. We'll see here. Let me just roll with this for a bit. I'll start answering your guys' questions this way. And if it keeps buffering, please do let me know. If this is the only way we can do it, this is the only way we can do it for now. Joe, how can exclusive deals make sure we get placements? You can't. Easy answer, you can't. There's no guarantees. You can't ensure anything in this industry. So all you can do is do your very best to partner with a library that you're well suited for, that your music is really useful for, and that you're providing the most useful music for their current needs, for their current clients. That means you need to have an open line of communication with them, talk to them, ask them what they need in their library. Okay, that's what you need to be doing. So I can't give you any guarantees, and if anybody's giving you guarantees, they are lying to you. Okay, there is no such thing as a guarantee. However, you can really increase your odds of success by doing what I said before. Okay, that's the best that I can offer for you guys. That's why it's difficult. This is not an easy industry to succeed in, but it can be done. But you have to just basically, A, have faith in yourself and push through. You definitely have to push right through the doubt and the sort of, well, what if this doesn't work out? You're not alone, Joe. We all feel that, man. We all are in that boat when we first get started with the music library. So just got to put your best foot forward, got to work hard, got to be consistent. And just like you'll see, like the student that I was telling you guys about in the beginning of this video, you will see the results start to pour in after a while, but it takes time, and can't do much about it, man. You really can't give any guarantees about it. You just got to work really hard. Yes, this Q&A will be available afterwards. I will post it. I know, even in its poor quality, it'll definitely be available in the SyncEdge membership area after this. Joe, how long should the terms be? Sometimes it's in perpetuity, forever. Sometimes they can give you a reversion, which would give you that 3-year out if you want to take any tracks that don't get placed out of their catalog. So there is no such thing as should. There's just different options, right? So there's different libraries that will give you different terms based on how their company operates and what they want to do. And of course, you can always ask for something different. They give you a contract that says, hey, perpetuity, you got to give us your tracks forever. Ask for a reversion clause. Just say, hey, are you guys open to offering a reversion clause on the tracks that don't get placed after 3 years? He might be surprised. They might be like, yeah, no problem. We can throw that in there, right? So don't feel like you have to just take the first thing that's offered your way. Definitely negotiate for yourself. There's nothing wrong with that. It's not rude. You're not being a jerk. You're not being difficult by doing that. You're just, being a shrewd business person. You're looking out for your interests, as you should. Nicholas, on my metal walkthrough on YouTube, you use high and low and different stereo guitars. Is there an advantage to using one left guitar and one right guitar with other amps? Yeah, using different amps and different plugin settings, you can definitely get a richer, wider sound from your guitar. So a lot of times, like right now, I'm working on a lot of rock tracks, and I usually use about 3 to 4 sometimes rhythm guitars. So what I'll do is I'll have a low beefy one that's just really kind of growly. Sometimes I'll put like a cool like whammy pedal on it. It just has this really just nasty sound to it. Then I'll have sort of like a standard, maybe a lower in tone guitar track for the chords. I'll have that same kind of, I'll have the same chords, but basically an octave higher on another guitar track, sometimes with the same setting, sometimes with a different amp. And then I sometimes have a third one. So you just kind of experiment experiment with these things, and you'll find that once you stack guitars, you start to get this massive wall, kind of larger than life sound to your tracks, and that's what you really need to do, especially with rock guitars. So definitely mix and match them and combine them, pan things out left and right. You got to experiment, and just depending on what you're using and what you're going for, you'll find that you'll definitely see some different things. Oh, and you're saying difference between high and low versus like, yeah, and I mean high and low in terms of you'll have a bigger frequency spectrum between. If you just had one guitar track that you tried to get all my highs and all my lows present in this one guitar track, you'll get something out of it, but you'll get a lot more if you just let one track do all the low end work and you double it, duplicate it, and you let another track do all the high end work of the guitars. You'll basically be able to mix and match them better. You can EQ them, you can control them a little bit better. So just gives you more versatility with your guitar tracks. Joe, already have music in non-exclusives. Okay, cool. Yeah, I even see that it's still buffering here from time to time. So, luckily, I believe on the playback it won't do that. I think it'll just sort of play back the entire video. But anyways, guys, this is such a creepy. I guess this is appropriate for as we're getting into October. This is the creepiest Sync Edge live Q&A we've ever done. Just a black screen. Michael, does Sync Academy have a negotiation cheat sheet in a strategic sequence, ask for a reversion clause, etc.? We don't have that right now, but we do have how to negotiate your rate, which is a tutorial in Sync Academy. It's in the business training, and there's a lot of really useful kind of like step-by-step how to do that, how to negotiate things in there. That's a really interesting idea. I'll make a note about that too. Kind of like a negotiation ask list, so that you guys know kind of one by one how to do that kind of stuff. I do obviously offer the in-depth training with my Sync Business Master course on how to understand licensing contracts. So I go through the sort of various stipulations that you're going to see in every contract. They're all the same. They might be worded differently. They might be different lengths, but you're going to see basically 5 essential topics that every single one has. So I do provide that training with that course, but that's not just available to Sync Academy members. That's an additional course that I provide on top of that. But yeah, that might be something I can throw together, like a negotiation sort of like checklist going all the way down. Gotcha. Nicholas used 4 different guitars. Cool. Far left, and one right. Yeah, awesome, man. Trying to get a better sound for your hybrid orchestral metal crews. Great, man. Yeah, keep experimenting with it. I personally am a big fan of Odin and Shreddage guitars, and then I use Guitar Rig 5. Those are that's basically my go-to guitar sound. I use a combination of all those together to find some great sounds. So you can check those out if you need to. All right, Lenny, I think you have a second part to this question coming. I was told by my library that my album was registered with BMI along with 200 other tracks. And we'll see what your follow-up question is. That was at the beginning of August. I still don't see any of the tracks in the works processing section of BMI. Should I be concerned? How long does BMI take to approve it? It can take a long time, unfortunately, Lenny. Sometimes it can take a month or two, even longer. So they usually sometimes have a backlog of things they have to get registered. So it depends on how busy they are with the registration process. So I would just check on it once a month. If you still don't see anything, beginning of August, what are we in? We're at the end of September. That's about 2 months. So I give it like a week or two. If you still don't see it, then I would definitely reach back out to your library, because they need to make sure that it gets registered for them as well. Like, they're taking publishing, right? So if it's not showing up, they're going to be concerned as well. It's not just about you. Both of you guys are going to be missing out on income if it doesn't get registered. So give it a week or two, I'd say, after the 2 months. And then if it's still nothing, then definitely reach out to them and see if they can give you some insight as to if they have any knowledge as to why it hasn't showed up yet. Regarding Michael's talking about the cheat sheet, maybe include if-then scenarios, other options, special circumstances. Yeah, I mean, there's so many things that's why it's like it'll be a little bit tricky, but I can probably cover maybe like the essentials of terms, consideration fees, exclusive versus non-exclusive, reversion clauses, those kind of things. I can basically get into the sort of the fundamentals of it. I obviously can't cover every single possible scenario you guys are going to come across. But the more you guys let me know about them, the more they can really help sort of educate me what kind of deals you guys are getting offered. But I'll definitely try to do my best to steer you guys in a sort of easy to follow kind of guideline. Nicholas, I use heavier 7 strings. If you know about them, no. I'll write that down and check them out. I'm guessing that's a plugin. Heavier 7 strings. Sounds great for metal tracks, so I should definitely check them out. Daniel, does registering your tracks with PRO before the library cause problems? It can, it can't. You just need to let them know that they've already been registered, because one of two things are going to have to happen. Either the library is going to have to go in and change your registrations to include them as part of the publisher or the entire publisher, or you're going to have to retitle all the tracks and then re-register everything again. So it's not like a massive thing, but that's why I usually tell you guys, don't worry about registering them until you've gotten your tracks accepted by a library, because they're usually in the process and they have a sort of a system, like a batching system, to be able to do that. So no, it's not like the end of the world, but just let them know that the tracks with the titles you've sent to them have already been registered, so that they know what they need to do to adjust for that. Yeah, Dan's saying he's worked with libraries that registered after 8 months. Yikes. It's a really long time. So it can take that long, unfortunately, but it's really up to you guys to ensure that they do get registered. So if you fall asleep on it and you forget to check after a while, you really don't want to do all that work and have no registration showing up for the tracks that you put all that effort into, right? What is the longest period of time that you went by from when you created a track to when you were asked to create a revision or the mix of the arrangement? Oh, okay. So like a custom opportunity, let's say I submit a track. What's the longest period of time? I probably had something that was about 2 weeks later. Like I submitted something and I didn't hear anything for a week. And then finally 2 weeks later, somebody came back with a little bit of feedback about it. That's the longest time in terms of somebody asking me to create a revision, because I still want to consider my track. If you talk about how long has it been, like what's the longest period between submitting a track to a custom opportunity and then even hearing if it got placed, if I even got the opportunity, I've had like 6 months go by where I just never got the update, and I even forgot about the opportunity. I just moved on to other things, and I figured, hey, if they need something, they'll reach out to me. But then I reach out, 6 months later, and like, hey, whatever happened with that? And like, oh yeah, sorry, that just fell through. We never got it. So I've had a lot of those situations where people just don't even tell you what happened with the opportunity. That's definitely happened a few times to me. Guyman, how do you find time to produce music, producing videos, strategizing, fielding emails? Do you describe a typical day? I'm retired and I still have to map out any particular day. I have a video on my YouTube channel, Guyman. I would definitely check it out. I think it's called like, what's my daily schedule like? So I do talk about that. I don't know, guys. Like people ask me that a lot, and I don't feel like I'm working much harder than you guys do, probably with your jobs and with the music you're putting into it. I feel like I'm putting in a good amount of work. I do work hard, and but one thing that I do like to do is I like to work smart. So I am not believe it or not, you guys would not believe this, but I'm actually very lazy, and I don't like working hard. It's not something I enjoy, beating my head against the wall and giving myself a pat on the back and saying like, wow, I work so hard, and then I'm just exhausted by the end of it. I don't feel good doing that. What I do love to do is I love to create shortcuts for myself and systemize my life and create systems in place that can really get me through my obligations faster, which is why I do session templates for my music production, and I have presets for my mastering, and I do a lot of this stuff that's just like I can snap my fingers and get to what I need to do right away so that I can just put something together. You guys can see with my YouTube channel, I don't edit any video at all, ever. Well, I mean, once in a while I'll have to if like I'm doing an interview and I have to get something that flubbed or something like that. But for my videos where I'm in front of my camera, I click start record, I talk, I have a little bit of an outline, stop record, upload, done. So as long as that video took to record, that's as long as I spent on that video on my channel. So I don't know what to tell you. I just have systems, and I have ways to basically maintain my laziness. I guess that's the best way to explain it. Mike, tracks you have an exclusive library who is then bought out by a bigger library. Have you seen any changes to your income as a composer when that's happened? Has that happened to you? I'm trying to think. it's definitely happened, and I haven't seen a massive shift upwards. I've seen, if anything, in my experience, Mike, when my tracks get bought out by a different library, even a bigger library, I usually see a decrease in income because usually now you're a smaller fish in a bigger pond. So if it's a smaller library that was placing your tracks and they had some great clients, you were probably seeing a lot of action with them. Some massive, whale comes along and gobbles up this small little library you're working with. Now you're just one out of a lot more tracks on that catalog. So I definitely have had that happen a few times now I'm thinking about it. And I don't see a boost. I actually usually see a little bit of a decrease just because there's more options competing against me. That being said, there are new opportunities and new placements that I didn't have access to before. So I do see new placements as a result of it, but I don't see it as a massive, for me personally, I haven't seen it as a massive positive thing. It doesn't mean it won't be a massive positive thing for some of you guys, but just being honest with you guys, that's usually what I've seen. Anthony, do publishers know that you're using TuneSat to track your tunes? Is it worth using TuneSat? Yeah, some of them know. I tell them, because especially when I get placements from their catalog, I'll actually email them, hey guys, let's let you know I just got a placement on CNN or this and that. So I like to let them know too. And also just as a thank you, like, thank you guys, you're getting my tracks placed. I see when you get my tracks placed, and I'm going to be probably the only composer on your catalog that reaches out to you to say thank you. So yeah, they can know that you're doing TuneSat, and I think it's definitely worth it. You can only upload, I believe, 50 tracks on your free account, so that does obviously limit you a bit. And so, upgrading to the paid one, I don't know. I don't know if that's really necessarily worth it. It can be if you really want to make sure you see everything going on. So is it real time? I don't know how real time it is. I do see placements that show up within the last couple of days. So I don't know if it's not going to be within the hour of your track getting placed, but I do see stuff that's like last week. Like I'll log in and I'll see that last week something got registered there. So, but I'm not going in there every single day. Probably like once every couple of weeks I log in just to see what's going on. Lenny, I have a subscription service to plugins, and I'm a little worried that the library would ask me to create a revision of a track, say, a year later, and perhaps after canceling the subscription. How important is creating individual stems instead of group stems? That would be something very smart of you to think about right now. To probably, once you're done with the track, do bounce down your stems and have them individually. Now, even if you have an individual stem, that's not MIDI, so you're going to have to recreate things or edit the audio form actually to do that. So yeah, it's definitely something that could happen. Or the other thing I would just say is that hopefully with a subscription service, they'll give everybody a little bit of a notice that if they are going to shut down, maybe 30 days or something, that would be the time to go ahead and bounce all those things down and make sure you have everything for later if you need it, right? Regarding custom opportunities, how can you keep a library that is using your work but is pushing for more music faster than you're able to provide? Be transparent with them. Just tell them, like, hey, I want to keep working with you guys. I'm cranking out music as fast as I can. I want to be transparent that I'm not being lazy, that I'm not just like not working for you guys. I'm working as hard as I can, but I'm gonna let you guys know I can produce 2 tracks a week or 3 tracks a week or whatever you feel like you can actually realistically do for them, or 1 track a week. Be transparent. That's always the best thing to do. Just let them know that it's not a matter of laziness, not a matter of you don't want to work. You're just working as fast as you can, and this is as fast as you can keep up with it, so that they can maybe adjust, what they want to give you or how they want to offer opportunities for you. George, I know you said not to be everything to everybody, but I keep adding more genre albums. I'm pitching the libraries, hybrids, sports, corporate, uplifting. If they are all strong, is it cool? Just had another HBO placement. Well, congrats on the placement. I mean, if you're getting accepted, I had another composer also do this where he was going to submit, I think it was like, 100 albums or something crazy like that. So, I always say, like, trying to be all things to a library is usually not the best approach. And you're saying, are they all strong? What does strong mean? Are they all on par or as good or better than every one of those individual genres on the current catalog of that library? If the answer is yes, then yeah, you could definitely go through with all of them. But I don't know your strengths or where you are with your production skills, but I'm just saying I just do get this from a lot of producers that think they can do hip hop, rock, corporate, orchestral, hybrid, this and that. And when you listen to their music, you're like, no, you can't. You really can't. Like, yeah, you made some tracks and they're loosely in those styles, but hip hop is where you're at. I can tell that hip hop is what you really do well, or rock is really what you're just doing really great at. So that's why I always say for newcoming producers to this industry that just really become really great at 1 or 2 styles at the most and become that go-to person. But You know, you got to be the judge of that. If you feel like you've got everything on par with what they got in those genres or better than what they currently have, oh, they're going to love you. They're going to be all over you, right? So, but just be honest with yourself. You don't want to shoot yourself in the foot by thinking you can be all those things if you really aren't, right? How similar in genre do the songs have to be to constitute a single album? For instance, garage rock songs, alt songs, and blues songs. Could that be an album? Yeah, so for those three right there, I would probably just do one or the other. I would do a garage rock, right? That would be your 10 tracks, or alternative rock, or blues rock. The only other examples we talked about before in this stream is that, let's say you want to call it like, I don't know, dirty South rock music or something like that. Then you can probably go in a couple of different styles. Or if you want to just call it like dark tension rock music, then you can go in a few different styles, but they're all dark and they're all very tense, that kind of a thing. Or uplifting, inspirational rock. Well, you could do some corporate sounding stuff. You could do some like Foo Fighters sounding stuff. You can go Green Day, right? You can go in a couple of different directions with that if you want to. Or Coldplay, obviously. All right, Nigel, talking to stems, can you clarify whether stems should be mastered like in the full version? Always ask your library. I can't tell you that. If they want it mastered, then the answer is yes. If they say no, the answer is no. And does it require mastering plugins on each stem? No. It would just be mastering on the master bus. That's all you have to do. You just solo out each individual stem or maybe group of stems if you're going to, let's say group all of your percussion, and you just keep your mastering plugins on. That's how you do it. But always ask your library. I am not your library, so I can't give you that answer. Joseph, speaking of stems, a library I'm working with sent me an urgent email the other day asking for stems right now because a trailer house had requested one of them for my tracks. I did the stems within the hour, but we did not hear back since. Would have been my first trailer placement. Think we blew it by not having the stems available instantly. It's possible, but that is also very common in this business, Joseph, to hurry up and wait. I need this music yesterday, and then you don't hear anything for a week, 2 weeks, sometimes a month, as we talked about before. So it's common. It happens where people just need it right away, and then they're not in any rush to let you know what happened with the project. But definitely this would be a lesson to learn, and I would definitely talk with your library to say, hey, you know what? Let's avoid this in the future. From now on, when I give you guys tracks, I'm going to give you the stems. How do you need them delivered? Mastered, unmastered? How do you want them grouped? All that kind of stuff. And ask them, and just have them ready to go. So if this ever comes again, you got them right off the bat. The fact that you got it done within an hour, I think that's pretty damn good. I mean, you didn't even take a day. You didn't even take 48 hours. 1 hour, that's pretty much instant. So I think you did a great job with that. You were very good to be responsive like that. You're welcome, Daniel. Glad you found some value out of this. Michael, what are some examples of custom work that libraries request? This could be anything from a promo of a TV show, promo of a network itself, could be a commercial, could be a trailer, could be anything in a film, just composing something specifically for a scene in a film, a documentary, anything, a TV show, anything, a theme, something like that, or a jingle. Anything where a client says, we want something brand new and original that's never been created before. We want brand new original music that needs to be specifically composed for this project with our considerations and sensitivities in mind. That's all a custom job really is. So you name it. What puts music in the background or in the foreground, that can be a custom opportunity. All right. All right, guys, we got just a couple more minutes here. And again, so sorry. I'll go ahead and put the put my video back up here so you guys can see my mug before we say goodbye here. So again, I do apologize. I'm working on this solution. So I appreciate your patience with me with this internet garbage I'm dealing with. All right. Take care, Nicholas. Yeah, Mike's pointing out that trailer houses sometimes compete against each other for the same spot, so they might be waiting for confirmation from their client too. Yeah, it's always a hurry up and wait game, as Mike can tell you. It's just, we need music, go, 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 and then you don't hear anything for weeks. It's super frustrating and it sucks, but again, this is welcome to sync licensing. This is just how it is. You guys should be prepared for that, just knowing what you're going to be getting involved with here as you get started. So, all right, guys, any last minute ones? Just a few minutes. As I said before, this session, this video, I will post it right to the membership area so you guys can watch this immediately if you came in halfway or missed some of it. So, and hopefully, I don't think there should be any buffering issues. Of course, the video is going to look all terrible. But at least the audio should be consistent through, so you at least plug in your headphones, you can at least listen to me. So yeah. It was actually a great session. Thank you, Nigel. I'm glad you felt so too, other than the technical stuff. But the questions were really good, you guys. Really great questions. It's very smart questions. You guys are thinking about this in a really intelligent way. So that's really awesome to see. Oh, yeah. Definitely some anger, Martin. You have no idea the anger I've been going through with this internet thing. Again, I always keep myself in check. It's a first world problem, guys. I don't have fast internet in my home, okay? People around the earth are dealing with way worse than this, okay? I don't want to overemphasize how frustrating it is, but my entire business, my career relies on a fast internet connection, and obviously it's suffering the quality here that you guys get. So anyways, needless to say, it's been bothering me, so. All right, Mike, let's say you're starting to work with a library and then they ask you to do something that you've not done before. How do you let them know that you're naive on a certain subject without jeopardizing the relationship? Again, just what you just said, be transparent. If you want to give it a shot, say, I want to do this. I am in, count me in. Just want to let you guys know this is kind of new for me, so I'm going to do my best, but I want to let you know that I'm here for you. I want to take a swing at this. They're going to appreciate that better than you just not saying anything and not submitting because you're a little bit timid about it. Or you saying, absolutely, I'm a master, I'll do it, I'm perfect at all of this, I can do it. And then you just deliver something that's kind of subpar. Honesty, transparency, this is what people like. People like these qualities in their producer. So just be honest about it. And just the fact that you came to the table and gave it a shot, even if it wasn't your main strength, guess what? They're going to remember that moving forward. So if they have other opportunities, they're going to remember who the people were that were the sort of their hungry producers that really wanted to work for them. So submitting master and stems, you need to do your mastering on the project because you can't separate them if you're only mastering a 2-track stereo track. Okay, I think you're talking about what we were talking about before. All right, you're welcome, Mike. Thanks for coming, man, and thanks for your insight. Do always appreciate it. Trevor, what's up, man? You're a little bit late, buddy. We're just about to end here, but you can definitely watch back through this this video. Guyman, what other genres are good for sports? Honestly, almost everything. I mean, you could definitely do orchestral with sports. Hip hop is obviously the sort of go-to, hip hop with orchestral on top of it, but rock gets a lot of sports placements. I've gotten tons of NFL, MLB, NHL, NASCAR placements with my rock stuff, especially like kind of electronic high intensity rock. That's a really popular one. EDM also is another example, like really high aggressive, intense kind of party celebration, even tension EDM. So those are probably the three that I would say are the most popular for sports. So awesome. You're welcome, Michael. I'm glad you guys enjoyed it. I'm hopping off here, and you guys can definitely watch back this entire video in just a few minutes when I post it into the SyncEdge membership area. So stay tuned. We only got a couple of days until the 1st, and I have 2 new libraries actually ready for you guys. I just shot their videos. Really exciting companies for you guys to check out and possibly get accepted by if you're still looking for that first contract. So I think you guys are going to enjoy it. Next month, we're definitely going to go back to our regular in the middle of the month live Q&A, and it's always, I think every single time we've done it on Saturday. Maybe one time we did it on a Sunday, but it's always usually on a Saturday, 9 a.m. Pacific time, usually in the middle of the month, one of those middle weekends. That's usually how we try to do this, so we can kind of space it out evenly. So again, guys, thank you for your patience. Thank you for your patience with my technical nonsense today, and we'll see you guys in, well, just a couple weeks actually when we do our next live Q&A, but you'll see those 2 new videos here in the membership area in just a few days.